Let's bring in Kellyanne Conway. 8 years after she helped Donald Trump beat all the odds and win the presidency, he's now back in office, and you're back with this famous red, white, and blue outfit like you were 8 years ago.
Just missing the hat.
On our show. Putting this historic day in context, what's the main difference as we watch the traditions and the pomp and circumstances play out, Kellyanne?
The main difference is that this still political outsider insurgent has also been an incumbent. He knows Washington. I think Washington is bending to his will. Also, I want to make a comment, given the fact that Chad Pergram had a conversation with you about the House majority when we got there. I was in the Oval Office the day Paul Ryan ushered in and said, we don't have the votes to repeal and replace Obamacare. This was after 2 months of solid work and months before that in transition with President Trump, working the phones, hosting the Tuesday group, hosting the House Freedom Caucus. I think that 40-plus seat margin was distorting. It allowed there to be factions and for very little to get done. Now with the slim margin, you saw the speaker vote, not a squeaker vote. I mean, it's a squeaker, a speaker vote. But they all came together, and what did President Trump say to them? I think that's going to be the theme here, Brian. He said to them, look, it's disrespectful to the people. They gave us this mandate for security, prosperity, safe streets, peace, et cetera, affordability. We have to get this done for them. And I think, look, as much as what's different, there's a lot that's the same. When I went to the Blair House in the morning, 8 years ago this morning, that's when it all became real to me. Sitting in the Blair House, recognizing that we were about to go to the church and then looking at the schedule for everything after that. But after the inauguration, the luncheon, we got right to work. He called us I didn't even go to my office for hours. I never saw it because he had us in the Oval Office. He called the press into the Oval Office so America could see what was happening in real time. Brian, I think tomorrow America wakes up and things do feel differently. They can say we're out of the Paris climate, where the DEI nonsense is as gone as a president can do through the executive pen. Energy security, if not dominance, on our way. Deportations. Things are just going to look measurably different.
But Kellyanne, right now, because we're waiting for the president-elect to leave Blair House, what is he doing? Is he reviewing the speech? What type of guy is he? Is he making phone calls still because he likes to have personal contact with the people? Is he working on those executive orders? What does he like to do?
Well, if it's anything like 8 years ago, he's probably now in the breakfast room. There's a beautiful breakfast arranged with his family and senior staff, ready to go to church, probably has the hard copy of the speech and a Sharpie in each of his hands. And yes, he's maybe taking calls, looking at the TV, probably watching Fox News.
I think that's going to be J.D. Vance hopping
That's
out.
Great, wonderful. And anyway, we all know that he takes that Sharpie, Lawrence, and makes his own personal flourish last minute, moves the things around. So that could possibly be the case. But it's really nice to wake up at the Blair House on the day you're going to become the President of the United States and see your family members all there. Yeah. And the senior staff is going to come in with you. So that's the scene 8 years ago. I'm going to bet that's the scene exactly right now.
Yeah, Kellyanne, Tim Scott reiterated what you said. He's going to be working all day. The senators will be working. What's going through their mind and what's happening at the White House? Because the Bidens are leaving now. Do you think they're emotional, saying goodbye to the staff? Or do you think we're ready for this to be over with?
Well, America's ready for that to be over with, respectfully. This man is leaving office as sort of like a blip between the two Trump presidencies. Folks will forget it, a semicolon. I don't mean to be rude. The man has had a 50-some-year career. That's part of the issue here. It is emotional because because Joe Biden thought he would run successfully for a second term. Donald Trump indicted, impeached, all of that. Really thought he could coast through. And he's not just being turned out of the White House because of President Trump. 7 months ago, he's turned out of his own party because of that debate performance.
Right.
But I have, there's Vice President, one of the youngest we've ever had in our nation's history.
Vance's lovely wife as well.
They've been all over the inaugural circuit.
Church.
Yeah. You know, they are running 40 minutes late as they walk in. They were supposed to, on theory, walk in at about 8 o'clock, and now we also expect the president-elect and Melania to follow 15 minutes after.
They're coming. You know, Kellyanne, as we look at the last number of weeks since the election, this has been probably the most consequential pre-presidency in modern history. I mean, just by virtue of his social media and his public appearances, he's been able to shape not only how the world looks at America, but has gotten the world to do stuff. The stock market has reacted, social media has reacted, and he knows so much more about what he's about to do than he did 8 years ago because he's been there. And now, everybody's behind him. You got business behind him. He's more popular in the polls.
That's the presidential motorcade right there.
There they are. They're
moving
leaving Blair House. It's just about a 2-minute drive around the block. So this is going to be pretty quick. But he stacked the deck in his favor.
Yes, he did. And look, that list of campaign promises is actually a governing blueprint as well. So it's not difficult to understand what his priorities are, what he believes his
Kellyanne,
mandate
sorry to
is.
interrupt you.
Yes,
This is
please.
the President-elect's motorcade. He departed from the Blair House, we're being told.
Yeah, so you're not going to see the president come out directed for security measures where you see that little flap, that green tint that they have now for the president.
load.
So
If you're looking to rent a black SUV, you're going to have trouble today. It looks like he's cornered the market on it, but they're going to be heading down.
pretty soon he'll be in the beast. Now.
Yeah, that's right. A little bit late. You mentioned, Lawrence, they have this deceptive
That's right. It's
SUVs to make sure
They have decoys.
Yeah.
Kellyanne, you
Yeah.
know this area. Where are we seeing?
So that's the neighborhood. You're looking at aerial shot. Right across there is St. John's. I want to make 2 comments about St. John's Church. This is obviously a tradition for presidents to go there for Mass, attend that with family and close friends and allies. Remember, this is the one that the protesters put on fire.
That's exactly
and that
right.
really, I remember talking to President Trump that Sunday night. It was late on a Sunday night. And of course, he walked over there with some others the next day or 2 days later, held up the Bible. But this is a man who's been shot in the face. This is a man who's been through so much.
And that changed
I think
him,
that
Kellyanne.
changed him. I think that this is an incredibly important moment for President Trump to begin his day 3 hours and change before he becomes our 47th president, to go and truly reflect in this house of worship. We've all talked to him about that experience. We know what he has said publicly many times about it. I think that he's going to reflect and respect this aspect of this presidential tradition. This is also, as we know, he's a guy who always says, I'm superstitious, I like things to be the same. He's also someone who loves tradition. And today is filled with tradition.
And one other thing that is different about 8 years ago, and given the fact, and you brought it up, the guy's been shot. There have been 2 assassination attempts on him. Security is different. Security is just different.
Certainly is.
Period.
It feels that way, and we're always worried about his supporters. They don't have security. Look at them. There's throngs of them. They drive here through the night just to be a piece of this, even though they know there's no public event. They still came. They stayed. They want to be a part
There's
of
the
history.
president right there, Donald Trump
There he
right
is.
there walking out.
There you go.
Quick pause is going to wait for Melania Trump as well.
So think about what he must be thinking to himself. How distant this seemed a year and a half ago as he's dealing with an array of indictments and legal challenges, and the field was building up to challenge him for the Republican nomination.
I think he's thinking it's
and he would think to
worthwhile.
himself, the comeback's about to happen. I'm hours away from returning to a place I never thought I should have left.
Melania's wearing a hat. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Talking
Greeted
to the
at the
Reverend.
door? That's
That
right.
must be the rector, Reverend Robert Fisher, who will preside over the service.
I mean, this is a full circle moment, Kellyanne, for the president-elect. The last time he was in that church was when he was preparing to take the oath of office the first time.
Yes, I was there. It was quite remarkable. And then, of course, they went right across to have the traditional tea with President and Mrs. Obama. I saw Mrs. Obama in the press recently saying that she was emotional that day because she didn't see anybody look like her up on the dais. At the time, she said she was emotional because, to your point, her daughters had spent half their lives there at the White House. And that is emotional to say goodbye to that permanent staff who you've lived with for 8 years. But I think this is a moment also to put aside partisanship. The people who are prophylactically Biden pardoning these folks, the folks preparing that lawfare document, Brian, that you told us about with Doge, they look small today.
Yeah,
I mean,
see
the
Don-
always wrong, never Trumpers have been defunded, denigrated, dismissed. I think America's just rising up. They're going to give Donald Trump space and grace
Right.
in
Hopefully.
the early days of this presidency.
Just
saw
keep
the
in mind,
family
too,
going
on those
in as
pardons,
well.
as we go out to Bill Hemmer, General Milley has weighed in. He says, I'm deeply grateful for not having to worry about these in his last days.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.